Before I start the show, I want to talk about StarStock. The site has now launched in beta, and you can deposit, purchase cards, view your collection, and flip those cards in the marketplace with more being built. StarStock is building a sports card marketplace aimed to be faster and cheaper for flipping sports cards than any other platform. They're currently looking for people who want to submit their cards to sell on the platform. Here's what they're offering: a 5% commission, no ingestion fees, you send in your cards and they do all the work. The cards are guaranteed and secured in a vault, and you can choose to ship your cards back at any time. You can buy, flip, or store cards with a click of a button. If you're interested in getting involved as a seller, contact mike@starstock.com. StarStock is only looking for rookie cards and prospects of current players. For more details, contact mike@starstock.com. And let's get on with the show. You're listening to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute, a podcast where we discuss both the hobby and business sides of collecting. I'm your host, Mike Summer, and I want to help you buy, sell, and trade your way into a collection you'll love. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Well, for today's interview, you get to hear from somebody who is on my card collecting Mount Rushmore, and that is Brent Williams, better known as BrentandBecca online. He is one of the biggest breakers of Topps products there is, and I just love the story of hearing about how he puts in so much time and effort to create a business for himself and his family, and the information that he shares with the hobby community about these Topps products and what you can expect inside is just unmatched. It really is unparalleled for a single contributor with a small team behind him. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get into the interview with Brent. All right, welcome back. And today I've got another interview for you. It is with Brent Williams, better known as BrentandBecca online. He's one of the biggest case breakers that's out there that breaks things in not the traditional case breaking sense, but he breaks cards and then he sells them direct to customers as well as on eBay. Brent, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I really appreciate the opportunity to visit with you today.
No problem. Well, I thought maybe we could get started. I usually like to ask people kind of the stereotypical question, but when did you start collecting? When did you get your start in cards?
Cards was around 82/83. And it actually began with Star Wars cards from Topps. And that led into some baseball cards, but obviously I was only 4 and 5 years old at the time, so I didn't really know much about baseball. But that led into Garbage Pail Kids eventually, and other non-sport cards that Topps would put out back in the day, in the early 80s, mid 80s.
As I said before, you're known for being a huge case breaker, but not in that traditional sense. How did you get started with this?
In the mid to late 90s, I was graduating high school in 97 and starting college. I had started to accumulate a little bit of debt because of my collection, because as around that time, as we know, around 91 or so with Leaf, 90, I guess, with Leaf. The packs were a premium. I think they were like $3 a pack back in 90. They just gradually went up. I think SPX or something was $5 at a time, maybe even $10 at one point for SP Authentic or something as the years went on. So I had started to accrue a little bit of debt, and I had a big collection. Well, as a college student, it was not easy to deal with that debt. And I just so happened used to, you could buy, sell, trade through Beckett Marketplace before eBay came out, or right around the same time, I guess, because the internet was just getting going. It was just a perfect storm for me being, 18, 19 years old with a fairly large collection for my age at that time, because I had really started buying by the box and case around 1988. So, that'd been about a decade of collecting and not selling a single card ever. But long story short, I think by my sophomore year in college, I had like 30,000, I want to say 26 to 30,000 credit card debt because of the cases I was buying and boxes. And also I started getting into memorabilia. That's really what got me started. I started thinking, I can't keep doing this. I want to collect, but I can't keep everything. Obviously, don't have enough room, especially living on my own at that time. And then I just had to narrow my focus down. It's like, what was my purpose for collecting? And I was a set builder, and I was like, I want to build sets. And back then there wasn't autographs and game use. I mean, they're very, very rarely, obviously, you'd hit one of those. So I just tried to build some sets, and so I ultimately started selling some things. And unfortunately, I sold a lot of good things that just now lately I had so much Jordans. That was my only guy that I PC'd back then, was Jordan cards outside of baseball and basketball sets. And I had a lot of Jordan stuff, rookies and Ultra. I loved Fleer Ultra. I used to have a ton of their inserts, which I think those things have just taken off, but It is what it is. I had to part with that stuff. So that's what got me started in selling.
And so at that time it was just on the side. Did you have a day 100%. Job or career?
Yes. I was going to college to become a youth and family pastor, which I did. And did that for full time for a decade, at 2 churches here locally. So yeah, that was my main job. I mean, I had a salary, and it was a good salary, especially being in the ministry. Most people don't, have decent salaries, but I was blessed to have a good salary that supported my hobby. But it was a hobby. It was on the side. I only sold what I didn't want. I kept a lot of stuff, but I just tried to get out of debt. I was buying cases in the late 90s and early 2000s. I bought a truck full of 2001 Upper Deck Golf. Unfortunately, I bought I think 5 cases at release. I want to say that those cases were like $1,000 or $1,200 or something, and they tanked right away. But later I went to Blowout, and I think Blowout a year later was selling full cases for $50, and I bought 100 of them. They had a special. If you bought 100, it was like $3,500, $35 a case or something. So I contacted Chris at Blowout, and I started buying those things. And that I did WNBA at the time when it was new, and it was a fun product, but it was that's when you start finding out you can make money by opening cases. I mean, I had done it here and there, but not on purpose. But WNBA and UD Golf, I think, were the first 2 products I bought to try to make a profit and not keep anything. Although with UD Golf, don't get me wrong, I wanted tire stuff for me, but there was only a handful of, other than the tiger tail inserts, only a handful of tigers in there that I was really interested in. So that's how I got started, and that was that way for a long time. And even after ministry, I went into banking, and that was my full-time job for a long time before cards became the full-time gig.
That's interesting that some of the first products that you broke specifically to try to profit from and to resell were 2 fairly non-mainstream products, golf and WNBA. And so, that's pretty interesting. And that kind of was a good proving ground for you, it sounds like. At what point did it pivot to being a full-time thing?
It was almost 10 years ago now. 2011 at the end, so I guess probably closer to January 2012. But I was spending more time on eBay cards than I was with my banking job. I was using all of my PTO, and they gave me a lot of it. I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks of it to do eBay stuff. I was, that's back when smartphones started coming around, so you would start getting eBay notices on offers while I was working, and I didn't feel right about that because I was a manager, and I had moved up to vice president, and it was taking more of my time. And I realized that if I'm really going to be serious about this, I should try it full time, because it was more than full time probably 10 years prior to that. I was spending way more time on cards since even the ministry days. So yeah, it just was eating up all my time. And I thought, to be fair to my job, and that I would try to do this eBay thing.
What platforms do you sell on?
I only sell on eBay now, although I guess that's misleading because over 50% of my sales do come from direct customers, which are just customers I've accumulated over the year, which I sell through on email or Twitter. I don't use Facebook or check out my cards or anything else like that. I did dabble in Amazon for a while, but things have changed. So mostly, I mean, as far as online, other than direct, it's eBay 100%.
Okay. Yeah. Did you experiment with checking my cards or Sport Lots or any of those other sites? Or?
Check out my cards is not ideal for someone like me that wants to open a product the day it comes out and get through it and get to the next week's release. Check out my cards is great for low end stuff. And don't get me wrong, I know high end stuff too, but it's going to be weeks until that stuff can get listed on their site. And so you want to capitalize on the first 48, 72 hours. Sport Lots, I buy from Sport Lots all the time. I know 90% of the dealers on there. I sell direct to a lot of dealers on there who in turn sell my base cards and inserts on Sport Lots to turn a profit. I may sell them bulk cards at $1, 1.5 cents a card, and then they'll put the base cards on there for 18 cents and inserts up from there parallel. So I sell to a lot of guys that sell on Sport Lots in that regards.
How do you use social media, or how has social media helped grow your business? You mentioned just a second ago that you sell 50% or more of your stuff direct now through email, and you said Twitter. Has that been a source of helping you build that customer base, or how have you used social media in the business?
Social media is definitely huge. I don't use it the way I should. I think I did probably 5 years ago when I was trying to gain followers on Twitter. I did some giveaways and Q&As and stuff like that. I was really pushing for followers. I haven't done that for years now because I stopped caring about that. It was a numbers thing and it just didn't matter to me anymore. My direct sales actually came because in the early days of eBay, and this, by the way, is the story of how I learned this could be profitable. The reason I turned to golf and WNBA was because it wasn't baseball. I kept too much of the baseball still in those early days. I wanted to keep the stuff. I was like, I don't want to keep WNBA. I don't care about golf but Tiger. But I learned that eBay used to have a feature because now they block everyone's emails and they don't want you contacting buyers. Oh, that you could check a column at the top of your cells that highlighted 100 names or 200 names at a time and bulk email those people. And I finally learned, that's when I learned business around 21, 22. I was like, I'm going to reach out to all these people that bought a Series 1 base set from me and say, hey, I'm opening Heritage next month. Do you collect that? Do you need anything from it? Hey, I make gold parallels of Topps Series 1, or I'm opening Series 2. Back then it was traded in highlights, not update. And I would just inform people, and I gained all of my direct customers that way back in the day. So that actually is what led it to be, I'm not just doing 4 cases of Topps 1. I'm not doing 8 cases now and 12 cases and now to 100 plus. The Twitter has helped because over the years, each year, the collecting base, until maybe this year, the average age of collectors have gone up. We weren't getting much new blood in it. Most of my best customers, and I don't mean this I shouldn't say it that way, because I don't care if someone's buying a $5 team set from me or spending $15,000 on a full Heritage Master with autographs and throwbacks and all that. They all are valuable to me, but I should say my top, paying customers or whatnot are all in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. And several of them have passed away in the past 5 years. Several of them have stopped collecting for various reasons. And so Twitter has come in and I've gained new direct sales that have I've been around 50 to 55% direct sales for a decade. And so every time I lose one that's through email, I gain a few through Twitter. I've learned that Twitter doesn't bring me a ton of business that I can tell, though, because I have done some tests. I'll be like, hey, if you're a Twitter follower of me, spend $25 this weekend. and I'll make your shipping free on eBay. And it hasn't led to a lot of sales. Now, granted, that's one little sampling, but I have 7,000 followers plus or minus, and so sometimes I'm sure it does, but a lot of the people that follow me, already deal with me, or follow me for news or whatever, just pictures.
Sure.
It may not turn them into a customer. So, but Twitter is definitely an awesome tool, and I should use it in different ways. But again, right now my priorities is also my family, not just cards. So I want to make sure I'm spending time with them and not so much on the social media.
You mentioned earlier when you're first making some of those intentional purchases with the intent to flip, you used Blowout to buy some of their closeout type of stuff to source those
Correct.
cards. Tell me about how you go about doing that now, or how that has changed and evolved as you grew. Do you go direct to the manufacturer, like the direct Tops account? Do you use a distributor? Both? Still use Blowout and DA and some of those, or a combination of everything?
I am 100% with only one distributor. I used Blowout for a number of years. Back then, there was no way to get with a distributor. I had tried, and I told them, look, I'm buying more cases from Blowout than any shop, or, but they all said, you have to have a store, or you have to spend this amount. And it's changed. Group breaking changed. All that opened the floodgates to distributors, especially as products in the early 2010s and stuff were tanking. They'd come out and on release date, they would be cheaper by the case than even I could pay at 5% above cost or something. So yeah, it's all from distributor. I haven't bought anything from Blowout or DNA or anywhere else for forever. I don't use any of those as a source. I am on DealerNet. I have bought a couple of cases there just for investment purposes after release because I thought they would go up. But no, distributor is my method.
So how has, over the last couple of years, we've seen pre-sale prices not be near as low as they were in the past. We've seen allocations start to hit a lot of everyone, it seems like. How has that impacted your ability to source cards?
That's a great question for right now, because I had zero impact to me during, the Judge year 2017, the Acuna, Torres, Soto year 2018, Ohtani year 2019. My distributor was very fair to me because, again, for 15 years from that source, I was buying 550 plus cases a year, and it was all the junk Tops. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation. I just mean low end. How's that? That's the right term. I passed on all high end because I learned very quickly when it did become a business that I was losing on 98% of high end products that I opened. I learned that I lost on basketball, football, and that my customers wanted baseball. So I transitioned to that fully and went to the low end set building stuff, which was the stuff that I liked already. And so thankfully, I was not getting cut, and my prices remained the same. This year, and at the tail end of last year, that has started to change. I know, for example, on Bowman, I am going to be cut in half from last year. And that's surprising to me because I was allowed to get as much Top Series 1 as I wanted to. And I know that helps with their allocations. The more of the low-end stuff that the distributors purchase and sell, they get higher allocations on the better stuff, but it is what it is. My prices also got bumped up for the first time this year in 15 years, my percentage that I pay above cost. I understand the market is hotter than we've ever seen. I've been very blessed to have it how I have, but I'm not entitled. But I would say, in all fairness, again, I was buying through the worst years. I bought so much product of stuff that tanked, that I lost money on, that distributors were losing money on. They had hundreds of cases left over of stuff. Even Bowman back in those days was not a winner. I remember buying 100 cases of, was it 2011 draft, I guess it was, or something, and that product went under cost after it was released. Eventually it went up, and that's how Bowman used to do. Bowman would hit, it would go down, and then you would wait 6 months and it would go back up. But, I didn't care about that because by then I'd already opened it all and moved what I wanted to.
Sure.
So, but now, yes, the market is changing. So the reason your question is perfect timing is because I've already started to think, what can I do next? Because what I'm doing now no longer works. As long as the market is this hot, someone like me really can't afford to be cut on cases, because then I can't help my customers, all my direct customers, and fill their orders. But direct customers don't want to pay more. If a top series one set is $25 10 years ago, they only want to pay $25 this year. They don't understand that shipping continues to go up and case costs go up, and it is what it is. But that kind of stuff is pushing me to look at something else. Like, man, why didn't I look into group breaking? Although I dabbled in group breaking long before anybody even knew or used the term group breaking for it, on message boards, even the old blowout forums board, which is, I think that was 15 years ago. But I dabbled in those kind of things. But it's like, man, I wish I maybe went straight for consignment and did nothing but consignment, because I get asked that all the time. So I'm looking into other things, because what I'm doing now is probably not the smartest or most feasible for most people, because you're not going to get the pricing that I get. You're not going to have the customers I have. And I'm not, I'm just saying it's getting tougher. So this market being hot, you think it's a good thing. It is for most people, especially group breakers. But for someone like me, that the return on investment can be hit or miss, and you're just opening cases to sell them. If you don't get as much as you normally get and the prices are higher, it gets tougher, especially with postage up, eBay fees possibly up, PayPal fees, et cetera, et cetera.
Have you seen any impact yet for the production shutdown that Topps and Panini's recently experienced? I know you don't really buy Panini too much, but
no, because Bowman was delayed, obviously, and it was going to be cut in half. I stopped opening Bowman 2 years ago. Bowman was the first time in 2018 that I ever sold a sealed case in my life. That's not true. I forgot there was a Topps Mayo football product years and years and years ago that I did, because they changed the sell sheet and the product wasn't what they advertised, and it was not good. But as far as baseball goes, because I learned at the cost that Bowman was, I couldn't be profitable on it. When Bowman was cheaper, I broke even at best on 60 cases of jumbo, when Bowman wasn't Bowman as it is now. So I don't open Bowman anymore. I hold on to that and sell the cases. And then there was really nothing coming out that I opened, since I don't mess with the high end, until end of March anyway, or end of May, with Big League and Pro Debut. Those release dates are pretty much the same right now, although I do expect Topps is going to have to move them, I would assume, because the printers are just going to be slammed trying to get this stuff out and then packed up. So
have you talked about, exploring some other alternatives. Have you dabbled at all into any of the on-demand sets that Topps is printing, whether that's the Topps Now or Living Set or some of these new 2020 sets or the 2020 product that's been coming out?
Yes, I've tried it all. Unfortunately, I have not done well at it. Okay. I don't, because I get so busy when 100 cases of Topps Series 1 comes in, or 50 cases of Heritage, I am slammed. And so I'll miss days of the Now stuff or the Living stuff, and that's not good. And I was not a PWE shipper for a long time. I could not compete with the guys that were buying the 100 cards bulk, and shipping them for $4.50 a card on eBay. And I'm like doing the math. I'm like, they're losing money if someone buys one card. I know that they're hoping someone buys more than one, or multiple cards a day, or multiple cards a week, and they can ship them later when they come in. I get that concept. It makes sense to me. It's just not my model, especially as a top-rated seller. You have to ship daily, and those would be pre-sales, and I'd have to outdate. It would just be a mess. It wouldn't have worked for me. So yes, I do have a lot of Topps Now cards, especially a bunch of free ones from the coupons I've gotten from buying other things. I will buy their online exclusive stuff, the Allen & Ginter X and Topps Chrome Sapphire, those things. I do have, I went through the Living Set for the first 100 cards because I wanted to collect it myself. But then I just said, I was never going to give up on that. I was not going to. but I don't know why I stopped. And I kind of regret that, but I have dabbled in that. And the Project 2020, that's an interesting thing, my friend, because I saw those at first. The first ones, I was like, I don't understand this. The price point, I don't get the cards. I want the original card. I just don't get this. And I like art, but I don't want my baseball card to be art like this unless it's in a new product, a new card. But it's grown on me. I have picked up some for myself, but I try to dabble in that stuff. And the Panini stuff, I do mess with the first off the line. That's hot stuff when you can, but that all takes time, and you can get shut out on that stuff. So.
For the most part, you handle a lot of this on your own, but I believe I've read that you at some point brought on some additional help, at least in the peak case opening, sorting windows of time with some of these releases. At what point did you realize that you needed some help to process the product quick enough?
Well, thankfully, I met my wife in 2002. That was the year, because it was 6 months after UD Golf came out, which came out in 2001. And I bought those cases from Blowout and met my wife, and she liked cards, and she helped me sort every night, helped me ship every night since we're still married to this day. I had what used to be a coworker at the bank who became a friend, who actually became a neighbor. Her name is Diana, that started to help us on the weekends and at night sometime, because the volume was just too much. Especially because eBay over the years went to, ship every day if you want to be a top rated seller. And even I think maybe 3.5 years ago, we didn't have to do that. As long as you had your tracking uploaded, you could wait 2 days, but then it was every day. So as that got harder and harder to do, especially when you're opening 100 cases and then trying to scan and list and ship, I got her help. She learned it she's been helping me. Well, I've been doing this for about 10 years. I met her at the bank, so she's been helping over 10 years just as a friend. I wasn't paying her, and she was helping when she could, but I finally offered to take her on full time last year. Actually, I guess, it was last year. And so she helps full time now, and is here every day, sorting, scanning, shipping, doing emails for me. Realistically, we need 10 to 12 people to do what we do, because we're opening more than anyone, and it is so not easy. We don't sleep, and the health has not been good, and we do a lot of things that we shouldn't do to stay awake, I guess. Drinking a ton of caffeine and eating too much. But when a product comes in, the first 2 weeks is really hectic, and then thankfully rookies out of base stuff have gotten hot, because I used to make, sort, and ship 800 base top sets for every series until 2018 update. And with Acuna and Torres and all those guys, again, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to sell 100 base sets and keep the rest of them, because we were going to take a family vacation in November, which we had never done. And I was just like, I'm just going to put them away. And thank goodness I did. And now I'm just like, I'll sell 100 sets of each series, and then we'll just put the base away. And so that doesn't take as much time, but that can take literally 7 weeks usually, of 20 hours a day of me and Diana sorting, plus my wife at nights and weekends. And it's a long process.
Definitely not the easy or the glamour that some people seem to assume there is, when there's a lot of work that goes into doing what you do. Just curious, do you have a feel for how much of your inventory is either pre-sold and pre-committed to that existing customer base and already accounted for, when you get those cases in, and is sold within that first, 72-hour window that you mentioned? How much of that inventory is either pre-committed or sold right away versus things that you've got just in stock that is going to sell over time?
Okay. I would say pre-sold. The only thing I pre-sell at all is base / master sets and then team sets. And that's just because I don't know for sure what I'm going to get or what the prices are on the single cards. I can assume I'm going to get, certain autos and relics and stuff like that in 100 cases, but I still don't price those right away. But in that 72 hours, it's usually about 25 to 30%. That's not a large number, but that's not because of me. That's because of the changes eBay made about 3 years ago. I used to be a 99-cent auction guy. I would go through 80 back then. I didn't open 100 cases. 80 cases of tops. I would sell through 98% of that in 7 days. And that's because I auctioned everything off. eBay changed it to where, you have to pay this $1 auction fee for 1 day, 3-day listings, which kills someone like me because I was doing everything 1 day auction, 99 cents. Obviously, not one of ones and not, Mike Trout autographs and stuff. I would do some of those at fixed price. But I mean, my fixed price was maybe 2%, and my 5-day auctions were maybe 10% of my auctions. That switched when eBay changed that. Pretty much most people's models switched. There's not as many auctions on things anymore. And so now I'm like 2% auction, 98% fixed price. It's kind of flipped. And so inventory takes forever to move through. I have stuff when eBay made that change in 2017. I still have singles from 2017 that I would not have, and I could have moved through. So it usually within the first 30 days, it just depends on the product, because again, some products I'll open 100 cases of, some 50, some 20, some 5, but usually on average, it's at least 60, 65, 70%, I would say, is sold. I base my orders off of one thing. Well, I used to. It was my customer pre-orders. So what I mean by that, people may say, well, why do you only open? I used to order 20 Gypsy Queen. Then I cut it down to 15, then 12, then 10 this year. People are like, why would you do that? Well, the demand for Gypsy Queen is not there like it is for Heritage or Series 1 at all. If I opened that stuff, I would get killed. I would lose so much money because it's not even that profitable of a product. There's some years I break even on Gypsy Queen. So a product like the Gypsy Queen, I will sell through most of that in the first 7 days still. Because I'm breaking so little, and I base my order off how many sets can I pre-sell off of this, and I try to order 20% more for people that didn't pre-order or to have some on eBay. What I based my top series 1 set off for a long time was I used to have 11 gold set buyers. I would buy as many cases that it took to make a gold set, and that number just kept increasing because they made higher production, so golds weren't 1 per jumbo pack anymore. Now they're every 2. Now they're every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like, holy cow. To where I just opened 100 cases of Series 1 and I made 1 gold set, whereas used to I could make 11 gold sets out of roughly 40, 50 cases. So that's really been a stinger because I kept ordering more to try to fill these people's orders, and I can't anymore. And so it's harder to sell through that kind of volume. If I was doing 30 cases again, even at fixed prices, I could probably move it all within the first couple of weeks. But as we've learned, that's not always wise anymore either, right? Because look at what happened to the 2018, again, that same update cards, all the parallels of Acuna, Soto, the short print cards, 2019 Series 2, Tatis, Alonso, update last year, Guerrero, Keston, etc. I have those cards. I didn't go through all my golds and foils and pinks and blues and base cards. And that is unlike me. I used to sell through every single card to where I don't even have a 2016 card in my home. It's just the tail end of 2017 when they made that transition. It's a different ball game now, but it's better now, obviously, because prices are, the demand and all that has gone up exponentially.
Yeah, it seems like that's part of that adjustment that you're making is, to help spread out maybe some of the profitability. You don't get the sell through quite as quick, but it might long term add to some of that profitability or help continue to bring in revenue through some of those dud products that you'll inevitably experience. One of the other things I was curious about from a business perspective is to do the volume that you're doing, it takes very well established processes. And I was curious on how you establish the process flows, your step from getting those cases, having the supplies and everything ready to go that you're going to need to be able to break, organize, get rid of the trash. Like, how were those processes established for you to be able to get through that product in a way that helps you move it in a way that gets that profitability? I mean, everything from even listing on eBay and shipping and all of that type of stuff. Were you a process guy to begin with?
I don't think so. I think eBay has forced me to develop those processes because, again, when I started on eBay, people used to pay by mail and money orders only, and I could get someone's, I hate to say this, but you could get someone's payment in and it could be sitting there for a week. And then you're like, okay, it's Friday night. Let's sit here, put a movie on and do the shipping for the week. The buyers wouldn't ever contact you, say, where's my card? There wasn't even eBay messages for many, many years. People may not realize that there was no eBay messages. So it's not like the buyer could be like, where is it? So over time, as eBay continued to develop and websites developed, and they said, okay, now you have to upload track. Well, you don't have to, but top rated seller, but you have to ship every day and all those things. It became that way. Competition also made me develop processes because more and more people would list early. So, I mean, I always said my number one goal, the only thing that makes me money is listing. That's it. There's so many people. I know some guys that still to this day that they will open all of their product before they list anything. And that may work for them if they're doing a case. Although some guys take 2 or 3 nights to open a case to enjoy it. And I understand that. But for me, my goal is to get a couple cases open as quick as possible, get the basic stuff scanned in, the insert cards, because by that time I usually have one of every card, every short print for Heritage, etc., and get those listed up in a fixed price quantity listing, and then start scanning the hits. Goal is to open as fast as humanly possible. I don't care if it's 24 hours a day for the first 3 days. We get most products opened within 3 days. Heritage sometimes takes a little longer because of all the variations, errors, and whatnot. Thank goodness they're labeled on the back of the card now for what they are. But, I mean, we can open 100 tops cases in about 2 full days. Me and Diana, and my wife doesn't go through the cards anymore because of, she doesn't know exactly what to look for in terms of variations and stuff. So, and then, the process is just Diana will scan while I list those cards. But my listing process has made it great because I basically take a Excel checklist, I upload it into TurboList, and then all I have to do is scan it. And I have a Excel program with a macro that puts all the photos into the checklist in order for me automatically once they're scanned. And then all I have to do is, used to I would just submit them to eBay 99-cent auction, right? But now it does take me longer because I have to look at every card that I hit and be like, what am I going to price this for? Especially the first 48, 72 hours when there's only a handful sometimes of those cards on, and I don't know what the sales prices are going to be of the new rookies, or, you can estimate, but the prices are all over the place from, the first Alvarez autographs. One of them's listed for $500, another one's for $200, and you have short prints listed for $200 and some listed for $25. People are all over, and that just takes experience. And, so you gotta, that's the process. And we ship every night. I usually start shipping around 2 a.m. and don't stop until it's done. And when a product like Base Tops comes out, we're doing well over 1,000 shipments a night. So, which can be thousands of cards, because our average order size is quite large usually. So it's just never ending. But yeah, you got to prioritize, and eBay and competition, made me learn that really quick, that we have to have priorities. And as much as I want to keep opening and listing that first night, but here comes 2 a.m. and all of a sudden you got 500 things to ship out, we got to start on the shipping.
Maybe not necessarily for somebody who wants to do exactly what you're doing, but do you have any words of wisdom for somebody who's looking to kind of grow their online card business?
Yes. If they want to do it, at least the way I do it, by busting boxes or cases and selling them and trying to make a profit. The first thing I would always say is make sure you're buying something that you enjoy, because it'll be more worth it. Because if you do strike out and you don't do well, hopefully you at least had some fun. But my advice would be just what you said. You use the word grow. That is so important. There's so many people I've met over the years that contact me. I probably still to this day get at least 2 or 3 tweets, emails, eBay messages a week, blowout private messages. How can I do what you do? Which it's getting less and less again, because the market has changed and people realize they can't get the cases at the prices they want and they can buy singles, etc. But grow is the key term. Don't start. And I've seen so many people that go in and buy 10 cases right away. And that to me is just, unless you're extremely lucky and just naturally, know what you're doing business wise. But those people don't realize if they don't have customers, they see someone with possibly low feedback, bidders sometimes shy away from that. So start slow. Start with 1 or 2 cases of a product that's a low end product. You've got to start with low end stuff and avoid the high end, because that could get you discouraged. Because I remember busting 10 cases of Heritage one year, and I made $4,000, which was the most at that time on any product. I was like, holy cow. These cases cost me like $575, so it was almost a $6,000 investment for 10 cases, and I profited $4,000. Wow. And then I opened a case of triple threads and a case of SP Authentic Football the next week, and I lost $4,000, because the triple threads I think was $3,000 and the SP Authentic was like $1,500, and I think I actually had for fees and stuff, it was like $3,700, and it's like, there goes my profit. And so you've got to start slow. You have to realize that you may be paying a lot higher prices than someone like me for the case, for your shipping supplies. You mentioned supplies, for your eBay fees, for your PayPal fees. All that stuff has to be in consideration. Know that your competition, someone like me, is paying much less than you are. So unfortunately, you're at a disadvantage there. But as time goes by, yeah, you may not be able to cut some of those costs, but some of them you can. And you learn that over time. But the key thing with starting small is you can start to develop a reputation, a name, and getting some customers, because there is repeat business on eBay. There's so many sellers, and I don't have all of those customers at all. And there's a lot of loyalty in baseball cards. So just have fun and start small. You don't have to go all in. Truthfully, group breaking is where it's at right now. I can't deny that. And it's probably a lot, I won't say easier to make a profit, but you can base it off of the market then, because I have no control over what the market is.
Yep. And
that's the problem with doing what I do. I can open $1,000 case and may only get $200 worth of stuff out of it. Which I should say, this is my final point of someone doing what I do. Take your time, sell every single card if you want to make a profit. Do not do big, huge lots. Don't even, if you're opening 1 or 2 cases, don't do sets anymore. Take out the rookies, sell them individually. Heck, send them to PSA or whatever and get them graded. If that's what you want to do, but sell every card. Don't think that, I opened a case of Heritage, got 1 autograph and 11 jerseys, I just lost my money. That's so untrue. Heritage is the most profitable product to open at its online cost. Even Bowman is priced so ridiculously high. Sure, you can open a case of Bowman and get lucky, but I mean, at the current prices, but Heritage is a winner every time over time. So,
well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you taking some time to chat. I think there's some great insights there, and really gave a interesting picture of what it is like to do what you do. So thanks for taking the time to do that. Before we go, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Well, definitely. Brent and Becca, and that is spelled out BrentandBecca. That's me and my wife. We have an eBay store called Brent and Becca, and we are on Twitter at Brent and Becca. And I am on Blowout. I just don't visit there much. So you can always hit me up there and private message me and I'll get that. But I really appreciate you having me on. It's always fun to talk about cards, and whether it's hobby side, business side, both, it's always fun. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again. Well, how was that for some insight and some transparency from getting out of debt to what some of the most popular or most profitable products are, to the risks that you can take by focusing on the high end and not going into it with a plan? Brent shared a ton of insight and wisdom there. And so I hope you enjoyed that, to hear a little bit about what it's like to break over 100 cases of the Topps flagship products and hundreds of cases throughout the year. Thanks again, Brent, for coming on. I also want to remind you to check out Underdog Collectibles at udogcollect.com. They are regularly breaking a variety of basketball and baseball products, as well as selling some singles. So check them out at udogcollect.com. Follow them on Twitter at udogcollect, and follow them on Facebook by searching Underdog Collectibles. I would also really appreciate it if you like the show, if you give me a follow at The Mike Summer. If you spread the word, leave a rating and review on your podcast app of choice. I would really appreciate that as I continue to try to help expose the show to more and more people. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.